Hi, everyone. Yeah, this is a little thing that I've thrown together, and it's because one of the most frequent questions I get from people in school is that they're looking for ways to get better at drawing, and they want to know what they're missing. So I recorded this video. The problem is not one that can be solved by me giving you one single thing that will make you better. Actually, if anyone comes up to you with a magical thing that they can tell you that will make you instantly better, you should be skeptical of their claims. The reason for this is that the production of good draftsmanship is an unnatural ability, one that has to be attained through years of training and experience and practice, and requires a methodical application of skills. In short, only certain people can draw well, and if that's what you want, then you have to become one of these people. So, this is all about how to become a person who can get good at drawing. This is not, how do I want to get better, give me a thing to get better. It's, you have to become a person who can get good at drawing. This is the underlying, cause and effect that you need to be able to get through. So this is my huge overlay. You can see exactly what I'm going to be talking about. And in any case, I'm going to just jump right into the what is drawing, because I'm sure there's probably going to be some people who don't want to hear the whole thing and want to know, how do I get good at drawing? Fine, I'll just give you that, and if that satisfies you, then you can go away, and then I will talk about the rest of the stuff afterwards. So what is drawing? Well, to me, drawing is just 3D modeling. So here, I'll show you a piece of software that I use when I make video games. It's called Substance Painter. This is actually the painting program rather than the modeling program. But I wanted you to know that, you're looking at this three-dimensional model on a flat screen. This is one of the main tenets of drawing, is that you're always trying to create three-dimensional optical illusions, and it's a 3D model. So what are some of the things that we get out of a 3D model? Well, it feels tangible, feels solid, feels like you reach out and grab the thing, like it takes up a certain amount of space, and we're viewing it from a singular point of view in the universe, a singular vantage point. We can tell depth and distance, despite the fact that this is you're looking at this thing on a flat monitor. It's an illusion. It's fake. You're looking at pixels. You're not even looking at a ship, for that matter. It's just lit pixels on a screen, okay? And when it comes to drawing, it's just pigment on paper. It's an illusion. It's fake. And so, yeah, when I draw this, it's the same thing. Here, look. If I sound kind of, like a little tense, angry, it's because this is a really simple thing that it's been poorly documented, and it's the hardest thing to get it across to people. And so here, look, I can create a three-dimensional plane, like a wireframe ground. I can choose points on the ground and start extruding upwards. I can you can kind of tell that this part here is really, really close. These get further away. If I want to turn these into trees, I can start branching points off and just following patterns. And it becomes really easy to turn this into a small stand of trees. And it looks immediately three-dimensional. This is what drawing is. Drawing is creating three-dimensional objects on a two-dimensional medium. It's three-dimensional optical illusions. That's all it is. It's all fake. So this is why I've always given people exercises where I say, okay, you want to get good at drawing cylinders, then you draw a sphere and you start planting cylinders over the surface. And you get used to drawing cylinders, these cylindrical coils, from different angles, right? Because you want to get that control over depth. And you want to be able to make it look like you're actually placing these things in three-dimensional space. And if I want, I can make a zigzag, which becomes closer. And I can zigzag along the side walls. And this is a really easy way to make landscapes. I get people who always ask, how do I draw hands? How do I draw feet? How do I draw eyes? How do I draw heads? How do I draw cars? How do I draw buildings? How do I draw forks and knives and cats and bats and dogs and logs and pigs and wigs? And it's just, it's not how to draw the one thing. What you need is how to draw a three-dimensional optical illusion. That's what I'm trying to get through to people. That is what drawing is. Drawing is about having, it's like 3D printing, it's like 3D modeling. You materialize form, and to do that, you're going to need a certain subset of skills, and you're going to have to train them, and you're going to have to be able to draw in the canvas like it's a three-dimensional space rather than on the canvas like it's a flat thing. That's what you need. And that's why so many people have so much difficulty with this stuff. Hell, like it took me maybe 3 years. Like I was 25 years old, a programmer, working in visual effects, technical director in visual effects. I quit that industry and decided to teach myself how to draw. Okay. In about 10 years, I gained some decent degree of mastery of it. But 3 of those years was, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And if I sound angry, I'm basically the guy who's had 3 years of his life wasted by poor documentation. Okay. And I'm sure that some of you you have no doubt. Okay, if you've ever shown any interest in drawing for a while now, and even gone to school and stuff like that, you have been experiencing some poor documentation. So, drawing is 3D modeling. I'm not saying what is art, okay? These are 2 different things, but just to have draftsmanship, you have to be able to 3D model things. Okay, that's like, for those of you who just wanted to know what it was, you can go away. Okay, so for those of you who are still remaining, you want to become that person who can get good at drawing. Well, let's break it down. Let's define, what does it mean to be good at drawing? What does it mean to be good at anything? And I would say that there are 4 levels of competence in terms of just getting good at anything. There's the first level, which is known as unconscious incompetence. There's an actual term for this. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect is when people mistakenly believe themselves to have greater expertise in a thing which they have next to no expertise in. Okay, it's okay. I have experienced this at some point. Some point in my life, I have changed the kind of person I am. All right, but I used to think I was actually good at drawing when I was not good at drawing. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect. That's okay. You are number one. The first level that everybody starts out at is you are just so bad at drawing. Okay, you're so bad at draftsmanship. You don't even know what you're bad at. You don't even know that you're bad at it. You think you're good at it. It's like just some people go through large swaths of their life trying to draw and drawing, but actually not getting any expertise in it, and they still suck, but they think they're good because they've been at it for a while. Okay, that's unconscious incompetence. And so that's one thing I can bring to you, is I can bring you up to the level of conscious incompetence where you are actually aware of your shortcomings. This is good. This is step 1. You're at the starting line now. All right. The conscious incompetence means you're bad at a thing. You know what you're bad at, and you know what you need to work at. That's the starting line. Okay. So most teachers and instructional material can bring you up to level 2. Okay. So what do we do in this case, right? When we're bad at a thing, we don't know how to get good at it. Or actually, we're bad at a thing. We know that we're bad at a thing, and so now we have to get good at the thing. And so I look across over here to the right side. What do we have? We've got analysis, the objective observation of empirical evidence. When I kind of had my breakthrough after that 3 years of bumbling around, I came to the realization I had zero control. I started to understand, oh my God, this is all about creating 3-dimensional optical illusions. I'd worked in visual effects. Can't believe that it took me 3 years to figure out, to put 2 and 2 together, that all the stuff that I'd been doing all along was exactly what drawing was. It's about creating 3-dimensional optical illusions. And so I say, okay, fine. So once I knew that, I had to get into acclimatization. I had to develop my own practice exercises. Okay, I get people asking me, "Oh, do you have like giant lists and books of practical, practices, exercises?" I don't. I haven't seen them. Okay, I had to make them up because I was doing 3D modeling and stuff, right? And so I took that stuff and I'm like, okay, fine. Let's make a test pattern. Right? And I would do things like this. I would say, okay, well, number 1, I can't even draw a straight line, right? People have told me things like, I can't make the lines go where I want them to go. That's problem of hand-eye coordination. So I would say, okay, fine. then we make an exercise. And the purpose of an exercise is to take your shortcoming and drag you through it. So drawing straight lines, fine. We make a large circle, put a dot in the center, go out, go back, go out, go back. Always drawing straight lines, and you have to touch the edge of the circle and come right back and touch that point. And you're doing this in singular movements. Oh, wow, look, I can't see through my hand. I'm working on a Cintiq display. First world problems. Okay, but this is an example of an exercise. It just takes a little bit of analysis, right? You have to analyze what your shortcoming is, develop your own exercise that drags you through the problem, and you do it until you get comfortable with it. Okay, because none of this stuff, I told you, this stuff is not natural. Okay, people just want to do this. I'm all comfortable and just and they have no accuracy. And it's not second nature to them. People will always do what is comfortable to them. They don't like change because change is uncomfortable to us. And the thing is that you will not be able to get this stuff like immediately overnight, okay? And you won't be, or you might get it to the point where you're at conscious competent, where you if you think about it and you're conscious of it, you can do it. That's not good enough, okay? But people can get to that level 3 fairly without too much effort. They can get to the conscious competence thing, but they have to think about it, have to be aware about it of it. And the problem is that if you're only consciously competent of a particular job, that's all you can do. Okay, drawing is kind of like parkour, all right, in that you have to be able to do many, many things all at once. All right, you have to be able to combine the skills, and you can't combine skills if you're only good at doing one of them and you're consciously aware of it, and you have to focus on that one thing, because you'll never be able to be that artist that is able to get drawings that have a lot of nice feeling to them if you are so focused on the skill, the one skill that you need, or the two skills, or okay, so you got to get all your skills worked out. You got to get all these things in order before you can be able to make nice artwork that will please you. For the time being, you'll probably find a lot of enjoyment in the feeling of getting better and being able to understand a thing, and then practicing at it until you don't have to think about it so hard. This is the process of acclimatization. Like I said, people don't change overnight. All right, and the thing is that to do this kind of stuff, all right, when I talk about the analysis of your what's going wrong with your drawing, this requires a degree of self-knowledge, right? The self-knowledge is the antidote to the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Where you have to be able to admit and accept your shortcomings in order to overcome them, and and that's and the self-knowledge is the honest and objective understanding of your capabilities, instincts, and methods. So you need this self-knowledge in order to be able to get on that starting line. And then when it comes to the acclimatization, where you get used to these weird skills of, here, I'll give you another weird one. All right, I'm going to draw a box that is roughly well, about twice as wide as it is tall. Inscribe a circle in it, okay? Except in this case, I'm going to, with a single line, I'm going to flip the circle, right? So you have to be able to go from counterclockwise and then be able to flip over and go clockwise again, all right? Now, I catch people, I give people this exercise, and they get it wrong every damn time the first time around. Do you think you're different? Everybody thinks they're different. They always get it wrong. They do stuff like this. They slide the circle across. Or they do something like this. They draw the circle, it gets smaller, and then they draw it bigger. And they don't even change the direction. Like, you want to do this exercise right, and you want to be able to turn a circle around, you got to be able to do this kind of transition. You got to be able to do a circle, okay? Then you got to be able to go a circle or a loop where the loop is on the bottom. Then you got to be able to go into something that's like this, like a letter M. Then you got to go into something that looks like a zigzag. Then you got to go into a W shape. Then you got to be able to do a loop again like that. And then you got to finally be able to do the circle going the other way. There's a series of transitions that you go through. So it winds up like this. And you got to try and touch the top and the bottom and the middle, and not wind up drawing octagons and triangles. It's got to be smooth. All right. It's a simple exercise. It takes a long time to get acclimatized to it. Later on, there's like variants of this exercise which they become like this. And then you have to be able to handle perpendicular tilt, because the ellipse actually tilts. It rotates as you go around, right? So if you look at the main axis, there's a 90-degree tilt to the major axis of the ellipse as you go around. This is the 3D modeling stuff that I teach people on a very frequent basis. So you got to be able to do it right. You got to be able to do the exercise right. You can't be sloppy about it. And to do that, you require discipline. All right, you need discipline to perform a discipline, and drawing is a discipline. Draftsmanship is a discipline. And discipline is the mindset. It's like the mental programming that drives you to abide by your principles, embody your virtues, and pursue your values. Okay, discipline. So the thing is that when I talk about, when I gave people this what is drawing thing, and I said it's 3D modeling, and I show you the 3D ship, right? This is something that I 3D modeled and textured and tried to make it look, very, very tangible and realistic. All right, like it had the right materials on it and the nice lighting and all this stuff, right? Even the lens distortions, a bit of that field of view, right? Field of vision, all this stuff, just to help really, really enforce that optical illusion, right? These are all things that I think are virtues. They're great characteristics, virtues of a good optical illusion. It looks solid, looks tangible, like you could reach out and grab it, right? That's what 3D modeling has. This gives you this stuff practically on a silver platter. But if you draw, you got to do it yourself. Okay, it takes a lot. Now it's all coming from you, and you have to be aware of what the 3D software is doing, because you're going to be emulating that stuff in your head. So again, I talk about the fact that it's a discipline. You're not going to gain this discipline overnight. Okay, like I said, people don't change overnight, because if we changed overnight, like our resistance to change, okay, our resistance to change, or I should say, our resistance to personal change is what stabilizes our identity. It's why we're not nutcases. It's why your friend doesn't. It's why your friend is always your friend, right? Because your friend is predictable, right? Your friends are people who come in and they're like, "Hey, how's it going? What's going on? Oh, nothing's going on. Everything's the same. Same old, right?" They're not like, it's not like one day you see them Monday and they're like, "How's it going, buddy?" And they're like, "Oh, hey, great. How's it going?" And then you see them on Tuesday and they're like, "I hate you," right? They don't flip-flop like that, right? They have a stable identity. Okay, and the thing is that this is the thing. We resist personal change. We don't change easily. We ossify in our ways. This is what stabilizes our identity. Unfortunately, our initial identities are rarely suited to being great artists. This is why a lot of great artists are actually kind of mentally unstable. I don't know. But I'm saying that you need to become, if you want to be able to get good at drawing quickly, then you need to become impressionable, flexible, adaptable, and still be observant, still have your grip on reality. But, you think about kids, right? Kids are very impressionable. They're very flexible. They're adaptable. That's why you get so many child prodigies. It's not because they were born good at drawing, but just because, child prodigies, like, or just kids who are very impressionable, flexible, adaptable. They've been raised up well. They've been exposed to disciplines, and they adapt to it very, very rapidly, and they pick it right up, and we think, "Oh my God, they're amazing," right? That's what child prodigies are. And so I say that in adulthood, you need to, eventually adopt a mindset that says, "Hey, I will change. I will adapt. I'm going to become the person who can become good at drawing. I'm going to become the person," because so many people have this mindset where they're like, "Oh man, I'll never be good at this. I'll never be good at drawing. I'll never be." And hey, if that's your programming, then it's just gonna become a self-fulfilling prophecy. All right, you need to be able to say to yourself, like, look, I want so badly to be good at creating these three-dimensional optical illusions. This is what you got to do. You got to wake yourself up in the morning, say to yourself, I am going to be able to make that line go where I want it to go. I'm gonna to aim where my lines are going to go, and bam, I'm going to hit them. All right, that's what you do. Is that every day, you set goals for yourself. You have to have ambitions. Okay, you need to have ambitions, and the ambitions can be in the moment as well. But they're still part of the larger goal, part of the larger discipline, right? So you're going to say to yourself, I want to be able to draw lines to go where I want them to go. I want to be able to draw large circles. I know that the right way is to draw using my arm instead of my fingertips. I know what my bad habits are. I'm going to quash these bad habits. I'm going to practice doing things the way that I know I'm supposed to draw them, even though they're uncomfortable. In fact, I know they're uncomfortable, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to practice it until it's not just comfortable. I just do it without even thinking about it. I can't not do it the right way. All right. That's how you can become the person who's good at drawing. Okay. Now, I say, in this whole thing that it's about preparations, because there's always a cost. All right. Whatever I'm teaching you is not, like I say, whatever I'm giving you is not a magic bullet. It's not magically going to make you better. There's a cost. There's a cost to it, right? It's an exchange. You need sacrificial resources. Look, I had worked a $40,000 to $50,000 a year job for 5 years straight. And then I quit that job, and I used those savings so that I could live off those savings and teach myself how to draw. All right. You need what I call sacrificial resources. Okay. And plus the support of others. My mom has helped me through a lot of this. She supports me through this. I helped her, whenever. That's the other thing, right? It's like you got to be on good terms with the people around you, because, very, very few people are going to understand why you do this, and even fewer people are going to support you through this. All right. So you need to have your preparations, and you need, to help people around you so that they will help, you in return. That's just the way it works out. Because this stuff is stuff that requires a lot of focus. It's not going to be easy to pick this stuff up in a matter of a day, 3 days, 1 day a week. You need total immersion. Really, like, this is the best way to learn it, is through total immersion. And if you're still young, you don't have to hold down a job. Great, do it now. Do it now, because later on, the burden of responsibility makes it a lot more difficult. And so finally, then there's the application. The why do we do all this stuff? Why even bother all of this fighting? It's like why do people even have kids, right? Why do people have kids? It's like it costs a huge amount of money, and it takes a lot of your time, and you lose a lot of your personal freedoms. And in the hope, if you're lucky, the kid will turn out okay and may even grant you or grandson, later on. But this is the thing, right? Is that when it comes to drawing is about creation, right? This is the whole thing about when I said, right, you get a grandson later on. Great, when you get to draw and you become really, really good at drawing, and you learn how to visualize, and you have a new way of expressing yourself. You have a new way of taking all the great ideas that you've ever had and whatnot, and now you can fluently create them. And it's fun, and and every single drawing, in the end becomes kind of like your baby. It's a creation, right? That's why. That's the application. That's the whole purpose of all this stuff, right? So, I hope that clarifies for a lot of people. I hope I hope this makes a dent in some people, that they're not going to be just phoning it in, because I feel that I teach at college. I teach at a trade school. Not a government-funded trade school. Not a government-funded school, okay? Government-funded schools, I went through one, okay? I went through a government-funded school, and it is not at all like what it is at a trade school, okay? So when you go through a trade school, you can't just phone the work in, all right? You have to really buckle down and not just do the exercises. Right? You have to be able to make up your own exercises. You have to be able to really, kind of be a bit of a self-starter. It's like they will give you a structure, and the school will grant you access to a lot of really, brilliant people, teachers, and you also get to have a nice working environment with other students. That's all wonderful and great. But in the end, you can't be passive about this. All right. You can't be passive and expect that people will come along and turn you into a great artist. It's not possible. It's not possible because, right, we can only bring you up to the level of maybe conscious incompetence, right, to let you know what your shortcomings are. You have to do the work, and we can supervise you to the point where you are consciously competent of a thing, and maybe we'll grade you up on, we'll give you a, gold star on your assignment, okay? But you have to take it further. You have to take it to the point of unconscious competence, and that's going to take years. That's just how it is. Not the rest of your life, okay? But you have to be able to take it to that point, and you have to apply it, and you have to use it in combination with other things, and that's just that's just what it's going to take. Anyway, this thing has gone on too long. I'll stop it here.